So basically, ever since Trump was sworn into office, he's made it his duty, his God-given purpose on Earth, to threaten Canada with annexation. Basically, Donald Trump has said over and over again that he intends on forcing Canada to become the 51st state in America, whether they like it or not. And to absolutely nobody's surprise, Canada has vehemently denied this, and has stated time and time again that they have absolutely no intentions of being annexed by the United States, and they want to remain an independent country.
Canadians have been galvanized. The level of attachment to Canada, even in places like Quebec, the attachment to Canada there is well over 80%.
Right.
We've never seen anything like that.
Right.
But it's born out of a sense of anger and betrayal.
And luckily for Canadians, their new Prime Minister is holding steadfast to that idea, and Canada will not join the United States. But there is something extremely ironic about this Prime Minister situation, and it's the fact that Trump is part of the reason why this Prime Minister was elected. Before Trump took office, Canada had a massive swing towards conservatism, due to inflation and immigration laws. Prime Minister Trudeau even stepped down as his approval ratings were plummeting, and he knew his chance of re-election was pretty slim. But because Trump has been so disgusting towards Canadians, it has caused basically a massive coagulation of the Canadian collective consciousness, and it has resulted in them essentially becoming liberalized as a way to fight back against Trump. Since being sworn into office, here's what Mark Carney, the new Prime Minister of Canada, has had to say about being annexed.
It's crazy. His point is crazy. That's it. I've been clear, personally I've been clear, the ministers behind me, I think to an individual, when asked, have been clear that we will never, ever, in any way, shape or form, be part of the United States. America is not Canada. Look at the cabinet behind me. You would not have that cabinet in America. You do not have that cabinet in America. We are a very fundamentally different country. So before we get to the economics of it, we won't be part of it.
I don't know how much clearer he could have possibly been in this video. He's letting everybody know, including Donald Trump, that Canada is not available to join the US. And they are not going to lay down and let Trump do whatever he wants. They're going to stand on their ground and be firm even under this new regime. But it doesn't just stop at the Prime Minister. It seems like the entire nation in Canada is enraged right now at the idea of their country even being in consideration for the United States to conquer.
But it's deeper than anything I ever recall in terms of disputes between Canada and the United States, which, by the way, have been going on since the creation of Canada. There's always been disputes.
Yeah. Oh, no, for sure. I'd say I've never seen my country like this. And that is the motivating factor in Canada right now. We've been punched in the nose by our very best friend, and we're trying to figure out why.
One of the key pieces of information in that sequence right there was the word why. Donald Trump seems to be doing a lot of things that people are failing to understand the motive for, and this aggression towards Canadians is one of them. It seems like this is honestly coming out of nowhere. Trump decided to antagonize some of America's closest allies in the most idiotic ways possible. He's been dropping tariffs on countries like Canada and Mexico like Kendrick was dropping diss tracks during the summer, and it doesn't show any signs of stopping anytime soon.
On the tariffs, is there any room left for Canada and Mexico to make a deal before midnight? And should we expect those Chinese tariffs, the extra 10%, to take effect tomorrow?
No room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
And the goal with these tariffs is essentially twofold. Number one, he wants these tariffs to somehow make America richer, which just doesn't make any sense fundamentally. Tariffs are a tax on the consumer of goods, which are the American people who are paying these tariffs that he's claiming are going to help us. How does paying more for the same goods help anybody? And it also goes against the promises to lower the prices of groceries and the cost of living in general, which is pretty much what he ran on the entire time. But the second reason for him levying these tariffs against Canada is to pressure them into annexation. Trump literally just wants to cripple Canada's economy and bring them down to their knees. He wants to essentially destroy Canadian businesses, strangle consumers, and basically force them into submission. And something that I find extra corny about these tariffs that Trump is waging on Canada is the rationale that he tells the media. I already mentioned the fact that the tariffs were likely to pressure Canada into submission in order to be annexed, but the reason that Trump gives to the media is that he levied these tariffs due to the fentanyl crisis. According to NBCnews.com, less than 1% of illegal fentanyl traffickers are from Canada. Yet Trump is using this as a reason to throw tariffs at them? That doesn't make any sense.
Even the excuse that he's giving for these Paris tariffs today of fentanyl is completely bogus, completely unjustified, completely false. So we actually have to fold back on the one thing he has said repeatedly, that what he wants is to see a total collapse of the Canadian economy. Because that'll make it easier to annex us, is the second half of his thought. Now, first of all, that's never going to happen. We will never be the 51st state.
It's honestly ridiculous that Trump constantly peddles these lies and misinformation as facts, and people just keep eating it up. But Canada understands that it's just basically all bullshit and they're pissed about it, and rightfully so. Luckily for Canadians, their government isn't just sitting around twiddling their thumbs. They're actually taking actions to defend themselves against this onslaught by Donald Trump. And it starts by levying tariffs back at the United States. Not only is Canada placing tariffs on goods, but they're also stopping the importation of certain goods in general.
Inside the LCBO, the American whiskeys, the Kentucky bourbons that Premier Doug Ford has really honed in on, California wines, any U.S. ready-to-drink cocktails gone from the shelves.
The governor of Kentucky said, don't touch our bourbon. And I said, Governor, that's the first thing we're going after.
That's 3,600 products from 35 U.S. states no longer available. The booze has already been bought and paid for by the LCBO, pulling it off of the shelves at this point, driven by principle. Signs reading it's for the good of Ontario.
Canadians have also threatened to restrict certain services to the United States, including electricity, and even restricting Pornhub, funnily enough. But honestly, the way that Canada would be able to strike back the hardest would be if they target the direct financial interest of Trump and his closest people in the government. So who better to target than Elon Musk? With Tesla's price already dropping precipitously over the past few months, it's pretty clear that Elon and Trump understand how dire this situation is. Elon has lost over $100 billion in net worth due to this decline, and with the American boycotts at full strength, it only seems like it's going to keep dropping. But what would make it sting even harder is if Canada levied tariffs specifically targeted at Elon Musk.
Let me ask you, as you just mentioned Elon Musk, I think everybody in this country is learning a lot about his influence, which is unwieldy and over the top, just to say a few words. You mentioned 100% tariffs on Teslas to hit Elon Musk. He owns a number of other companies. Obviously, there's Starlink. Would you ever consider canceling Canada's contracts with Starlink, for example?
Absolutely. And Canadian premiers have already said that they would do that.
I'm a huge believer in this idea working, and I hope they follow through with it, because these frauds need to learn their lesson. Trump swore up and down to the American people that these tariffs would enrich Americans. Somehow by paying more taxes, it would put more money in their pockets. And that regular income taxes would be cut for regular Americans as well. But actually, as it turns out, only the top 1%ers are likely to see any sort of relief from these tax changes, as if they needed it at all. Trump, Elon, and all their billionaire friends are getting tax breaks while the rest of us are crippled with the rising costs of goods, and our taxes staying the exact same. It just goes to show how out of touch these billionaire elites really are, and how little they actually care about the common man. But the real irony of this situation is the fact that a lot of these mega billionaires who supported and backed Trump are now actually suffering enormous losses to their wealth alongside with Elon Musk. The tariffs went into effect on March 4th, and since then, the stock market has been tanking across the board. Most of these wealthy elites who have a large amount of their money in the stock market have been seeing rapid declines in their net worth, and it's hurting the pockets of people like Elon, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, and the list goes on. Basically all of those billionaires that were at Trump's inauguration. Seriously, I don't know who's benefiting from these tariffs. Trump would tell you that the American people are benefiting from these since it's going to be bringing factories back to the United States, but how many jobs are those factories really even bringing back here? The average factory can only employ up to like 7,000 to 10,000 people at the high end. Even if you build like 100 of these factories, you're not going to be employing that many people. Anywhere between 700,000 to 1 million people in total, while the rest of the 300 million Americans are stuck paying higher prices for their goods. Like seriously, for the love of God, could somebody please help me understand how the hell these tariffs are supposed to benefit anybody? Like who in their right mind is still sitting back here thinking to themselves, coming to the conclusion that Donald Trump and his administration are doing a good job handling the economy right now? It's just honestly ridiculous.